Organization, Part 1. And your writing. Writing is a matter of arrangement. It involves combining letters into words, words into sentences, sentences into paragraphs, and paragraphs into documents or finished pieces. Apart from what you're going to say, it is important how you arrange your words. That is what sets you apart from other writers.
Think in paragraphs. The division in paragraph is a fundamental feature of a text. The reader needs to know how things are organized, grouped, and connected. We can say that writing is a logical arrangement of thought. Paragraphs are the building blocks that give the reader a sense of that arrangement. Paragraphs range from tile structure to loose structure. Any scheme will do as long as the paragraph seems to hold together. What do paragraphs generally contain? Many paragraphs begin with a topic sentence or generalization, followed by a clarifying statement and one or more sentences of explanation or development. Some conclude with a resolution statement. Others delay the topic sentence until the end. Others have no topic sentences. Each paragraph should be designed to achieve its particular purpose. We have two different structures of paragraphs. Tile-structured paragraphs, they tend to be short and follow a three-step approach: topic, development, resolution. These paragraphs state the topic, develop it with explanations and examples, and offer a conclusion. A standard structure follows the three steps of a syllogism, a basic pattern in deductive thinking: major premise, minor premise, and conclusion. Whatever form a paragraph takes, a good paragraph has three attributes. Unity involves linking the subordinate ideas to the main ideas. Coherence, connecting sentences and arranging them in the logical pattern. And development, supporting the main idea with sufficient examples and adequate details.
Choose your method of development. There are four primary modes of discourse: description, narration, exposition, and persuasion. The third mode, exposition or expository writing, includes 6 basic methods of development. Example: process analysis, division and classification, comparison and analogy, cause and effect, and definition. Example: use an example to clarify, illustrate, and support your point is a basic principle of effective writing. Anecdotes, analogy, metaphor, and direct quotes are all means of illustrating your point. Process analysis. Process analysis is a step-by-step explanation of how something works. It is the method of development, and you will use to explain a procedure from beginning to the end. Advantages and disadvantages. The main disadvantage of process analysis is that it tends to become monotonous, and its main advantage is that it's easy to follow, provided the steps are presented in a consistent format and provided parallel structure is maintained throughout. A good way to check for parallel structure is to read the first few words of every item in the series. If some items begin with verbs and other with nouns, or if some items are complete sentences and other fragment, the format is not parallel. Division and classification. Division and classification are methods of dividing and grouping. In a sense, they move in opposite directions. Division is a separation of something into its component parts, whereas classification is the grouping of those parts into related categories. Use division to identify differences and classification to emphasize similarities.
Comparison and analogy are useful ways to clarify your meaning, particularly when the subject is complex and the reader's knowledge is relatively limited. Comparison and analogy link what is unfamiliar and complex to what is familiar and simple. Its structure can be whole by whole, which address all the characteristics of one thing before addressing the other thing, or part by part, which compares all relevant features one by one. Cause and effect involves analyzing connections. It discusses why it happened and what the result was. Definitions involves limiting the frame of reference for the purpose of achieving precise and efficient communication. It can be a phrase, a sentence, or a paragraph. Definition may include elements of all 6 types of exposition. For example, process analysis to demonstrate how, division and classification to identify distinguishing features, and cause and effect to explain the reasons for.
Now I'm going to talk about making an outline. To begin with, we need to understand that outlining is a crucial tool for the writing process, since it's an opportunity to gather your thoughts and organize them before beginning the arduous task of producing a text. Surely, what makes outlining vital for writing is simply saving frustration when editing becomes endless. However, one may come up with an obvious question. When is the right moment of outlining? Well, let me tell you that there is not the precisely moment of making an outline, but it would be necessary when the subject matter is rather complex and when the material is lengthy or involves multiple components. Outlining helps us to clarify our thinking about purpose, audience, and material. It helps us to identify the key points and decide how much emphasis to give them. It helps us to detect errors in logic and organization and decide what to include and what to leave it aside. It helps us to check for completeness and mainly to write with more focus and precision. It helps us to provide a structure and promote coherent development. In order to be more efficient in making an outline, there are some rules for outlining and steps for outlining. Starting with the rules, we should present all the items in parallel structures, divide the thought in categories, subcategories, and each unit in subunits. In formal language, we should use hierarchy for labeling, and we should use Roman numerals. Following with the step for outlining, we should identify the primary purpose and also the secondary objectives, devise a working title, and determine broad categories to use in classifying the information and the material. Arrange the information according to hierarchy and sequence. Then we can evaluate the outline, and last but not least, once you begin to write, we can modify and depart from the outline.
Persuasive writing. Arrange material to your advantage. Effective writing is a matter of presenting your thoughts in the right order. Consider, for example, the following premise of persuasive writing. If you think your reader is sympathetic to your ideas, be direct. Offer your conclusion first, then present your evidence. If you think your reader is unsympathetic or hostile to your ideas, be indirect. Present your evidence first, and then offer your conclusion. The rationale behind this premise is that a sympathetic reader is more likely to accept your conclusion on face value. An unsympathetic reader, on the other hand, wants to hear your reasoning and evidence before considering your conclusion. When writing to a sympathetic audience, it takes a direct approach. A direct approach can be used to determine both the order of the paragraphs in an argument and the order of the sentences in a single paragraph. For example, the paragraph opens with an assertion or a conclusion, then supports that assertion with a second assertion, offers some example, recognizes an opposing point of view, and closes with a rebuttal. When writing to an unsympathetic or hostile audience, it takes an indirect approach. The paragraph presents the same arguments to an unsympathetic audience. The paragraph opens with an opposing statement, then presents a rebuttal, offers some examples, and closes with a broader assertion or conclusion.